Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good day, good night, good everything. So, what I wanted to talk to you all today about it was moving forward from relationships. Yeah. And this is very impromptu. I have like no plans, no notes. I just turned this recorder on and I'm going to wing it. Because earlier I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was just talking about how, how hard it was for her to get over breakups. And I'm sure she's not the only one. And then she looks at me and she's like, you just make it seem so easy. And I told her, I don't think it's the fact that it's easy for me to move on, but I think it's necessary. There's a big difference between thinking that something is easy and then knowing that it's necessary. I imagine that if you have someone, and this is really an extreme example that I'm about to give, but I think it will bring clarity to how I look at things. If you have a family who has to make the decision about, another family member being on life support, that's not an easy decision, but it is a necessary decision. Some things we just have to decide because we have to decide them. Ideally, all of us, most people don't want to deal with conflict. Most people don't want to deal with hard situations. I think for most of us, if we could just have things the way that we wanted them with no stress, no problems, no issues, we would. But life doesn't present that to us often. At some point, even those things that belong to us are going to cause us some degree of stress, some degree of heartache, some degree of worry or concern. It's called living life. So if you're in a relationship and that relationship didn't go the way that you wanted it to go, it's not going to be easy for you to move forward, but it will be necessary for you to move forward. We don't get a lot of time, and time is the one thing that we don't get an overabundance of, and we don't get to replace it. You don't get to replace an old minute with a new minute. So if you lose money, you can replace that money. If you lose a job, you can replace that job. If you lose a house, even though you wanted that house, you can replace that house. If you lose your car, you can replace that car, but you don't get to replace your time. Once you lose that minute, another minute will never come back the same. So you have to be intentional. I tell people, you look at it as being intentional. I'm not going to sit around and beat myself up or try to figure out why somebody else did what they did to me. That is for them to figure out and them to know. The only thing I have to do is say, okay, what did I do in that relationship that I could learn from? What was my role in it? Even if my role was allowing something to go on for as long as it did, because sometimes we spend more time forgiving other people when we really should be forgiving ourselves. And sometimes we're looking at other people about, hey, why did you do that? And we should be looking at ourselves as, why did I allow it for so long? And those are the types of things that I do for myself. So I don't spend a lot of time dwelling on things that don't work, because if it didn't work, it didn't work. And me wanting it to work didn't make it work, because it takes two people to be in a relationship. And I also feel like sometimes you can meet somebody at the wrong time, because if you have two people who ultimately were supposed to be together and then they meet each other prematurely, then that does not work. It doesn't work. So what you have to do is you have to focus on yourself. You have to focus on your relationship with God. You have to focus on, your own mental and emotional and spiritual well-being and your physical well-being. We have to learn how to take care of ourselves, because you're going to make yourself sick trying to figure out why somebody did what they did or why it didn't work. Now, if you did something, then of course that's an easy fix, I think, in a lot of ways, because you can deal with yourself and you can say, hey, in the event that something similar happens, I know not to respond this way. Because I have to I've had to check myself because I'll tell anybody. I will tell anybody, if you corner me, it's over. It's over. If you keep hitting me in the same spot, hey. It is what it is. So I try not to put myself in situations where I have to keep recovering from people. And sometimes that looks like you having to remove yourself from it. I've told you all before in a previous video, I've had to remove myself from situations that I actually wanted. I had to remove myself from relationships that I really did want to be in because they weren't healthy for me. I don't believe in any type of emotional, physical, I don't believe in any type of abuse, period. I've never been physically abused. I thank God for that because I watched way too much Lifetime. But I don't believe that it is my right to cause someone else's life to be harder than it is. And I don't believe that it's their right, when it's within their control, to cause my life to be harder than it is. Because right now I'm actually in a good place. Emotionally, I'm in a good place. Spiritually, I'm in a good place. Physically, mentally, I'm in a good place. So in order for me to protect the place that I'm in, I can't allow people, anybody, even if he tall, dark, and handsome, I can't let him get in my space and just destabilize my space. So because of that, I've had to let some stuff go that I wanted to keep. And even, like I said, it could be letting go for a season, or it could be letting go forever, because ultimately what you want is you want to be with your God-approved mate. I know some people say somebody being the one. You all know how I feel about that. I said it before. I don't know if there's like one person. I don't like to think that there's one person, because if that one person goes off and gets married to somebody else, what I'm gonna do? So I don't know if I think about it as being like there's one person, but I believe that there is a type, a certain personality, a certain certain way of thinking. I believe that there is a proper fit for me, and I believe that ultimately God knows what that proper fit is and who fits that proper fit. So that's how I look at things, and I'll wait. Don't spend hours and weeks and days tormenting yourselves by wondering why somebody else didn't appreciate you or why that relationship didn't work. If God wants to bring it back to you differently, he can. And if he wanted to present you to somebody else, then he can and he will allow it to happen. Because if you force it, you're just gonna put yourself in a bad situation. If you force it, you're gonna put yourself in a situation that later you're gonna have to deal with, and that's no fun. And if you decide to, y'all, I'm getting a little paranoid because my dog about to start barking at me because he thinks he owns me. But if you get to a place where you get desperate and you start reaching, you're gonna grab the wrong thing, because nothing good ever happens from us having sticky fingers. So during your season of waiting and recovering, you have to make sure that you are healed, because it is not fair to that other person, that person that you are praying for. It is unfair for you to hand him a wounded person. It is unfair for you to hand him a heart that is bitter or still has unforgiveness in it, or still angry. That's unfair. Trust me. Take my word. I know, because I will tell anybody. I feel like I've been in situations where the person who I was with wasn't healed yet, and as a result of it, I got injured. And that's not a good feeling. That's not fair to me. And for me to turn around, if I was to turn around and do it to somebody else, it wouldn't be fair to them. So sometimes we can want things that we're absolutely not ready for. So if you're in a time or a season that, you know, you had a breakup, it didn't work out the way that you wanted it to work out, spend time on yourself. Love yourself. Why are you asking God to bring you somebody to love when you have not properly loved yourself back to good health? When you have not properly loved yourself to the point where, you know, you're whole again. Don't ever depend on a person to step into the picture and make you okay. That is not their responsibility. It will always be between you and God. It will always be between you and God. And when God brings you your mate, it still will be between you and him. So when I look at it, I'll tell people recovering from a bad relationship, it's not easy, but it is necessary. It is necessary that you intentionally move forward. And that means forgiving them in spite of the fact that they will likely never apologize. Forgiving them in spite of the fact that they probably think that you did them wrong when it was the other way around. It means that you're going to have to heal. You're going to have to allow God to heal you. And you're going to have to spend some time saying, okay, how did I get in that situation? Because I've had to do that, you all. I've had to ask myself, why was you with him again? Why did you allow that to go on for so long? Why did you overlook that? Because some things, honestly, had I not disregarded the flags, I would not have been in it long enough to get hurt. But I stuck it out. And because I stuck it out, I had to deal with the consequences of sticking it out, or grabbing something before it's time. So look at it as, you know what? Apparently God has something better for me, and I want God's best for me. And while I'm waiting for him to give me his best, I'm going to make sure that he prepares me so that when my husband comes or my mate comes, that I am the best that I could be. So it's not that it's easy. It's just necessary. Love yourself. Do things to make sure that you are spiritually and emotionally and physically and mentally whole and healed. And, you know, do what you need to do. Only you know what that looks like. Whatever that looks like for you. Make it happen. Don't sit around sulking. Life is too short. We don't get the same minute twice. Life is too short. Live your life. If God gives you 40, 50, 60, 70 years, you don't want to waste those years saying, I'm going to be miserable until I get married. Because what you're telling him is that he created you for no reason, and that he's not enough, and that's not fair, and that's not true. So I just wanted to kind of come on here and just tell you all, you know, learn how to encourage yourself, learn how to uplift yourself. Open the blinds. Stop sitting in that dark room crying. Turn on some upbeat music. Stop playing Sade. I love Sade, but I don't want to listen to Sade and put my little spirit low. You know, do some things to make yourself feel a lot better, whatever that looks like. As long as it's not anything illegal or immoral, you go for it. But thank you all so much for watching. I need to let my dog out now, and I will see you all next video. Bye bye.